Mom and Dad, are you ready?
Today's word is stupendous.
You need some encouragement.
Stupendous marriage encouragement.
You need some inspiration.
You know, we had a real come to Lisa meeting a couple times.
Oh, that sounds so bad.
You're listening to the Stupendous Marriage Show.
With our friends Stu and Lisa Gray.
Oh, yes, that word. Stupendous.
The Stupendous Marriage Show.
Hey there, welcome to the Stupendous Marriage Show. I'm Stu Gray.
Hey, I'm Lisa Gray.
This is a show where we answer your questions about marriage most of the time, and you send them to us at onair@stupendousmarriage.com.
Yeah, in the month of December, we're doing something a little different. Last week, we talked about finances. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go back and listen. And it wasn't like, hey, nobody spend money. It wasn't a negative finance thing. It was more of how to do it well as a couple. So I just encourage you to go back and listen to that if you haven't. And so this week, we're actually going to be talking about something I think all of us really can think about in a positive way and try to make sure that we're on the same page about, which is, how do you do Christmas as a family unit, talking about you and your spouse, and if you have kids, the kiddos, and include, but also not allow to take over your Christmas, the in-laws and family traditions from your childhood, and like, how do you make that work and have that balance and those boundaries during the holidays so that you can actually enjoy it? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hi, babe. How are you?
I'm a little bit tired.
We had a Christmas party last night. It was a lot of fun. They're always so much fun, but they, afterwards they are a little tiring.
I think I'm logy, full of sugar and bread and buffalo chicken dip.
What does logy mean?
Just kind of blah, slow and blah. I feel thick, like just moving through the world slowly this morning.
I actually understand that. That's funny. I never would have thought of how to say it that way, but I really feel that way too. It was crazy, and I didn't even sugar it up last night, but I had a couple sugar things. I had way too much the cheesy bread that you made, which was amazing, and we got done and everybody left, and all of a sudden, my body went, okay, I'm done, crash, and I'm like, but I have to clean. And,
well, and the funny thing is we did it early,
right.
And with the time change and, daylight getting shorter, we went 4:30 to 6:30-ish. Mm-hmm. And so it was dark. It felt later.
Right.
So we got done about 7, probably maybe 7:30, just because everybody kind of stayed a little bit longer. But it felt like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And so when you sat down on the couch, I'm just going to rest my eyes for a couple minutes. I think you did you fall asleep sitting there for a second or not?
I don't know. I mean, was I snoring?
No.
I don't think I was. Yeah, I didn't wake myself up doing that. But it's so much fun, and we really do enjoy hosting.
Yeah, so we did the hot cocoa thing, and it was really sugary. Wow!
It was really cool. Pinterest gets me in trouble.
Yeah, right?
And you too, because I sent you a link to one thing on Pinterest for a hot chocolate bar, and you right,
but they
took
a picture of the whipped cream things, and they wrapped them in wrapping paper, so I decided to do that, and that's so what? Yes. Okay.
I was like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, this is what they did on that article.
You sent it to me. If you don't want me to go all in, don't send it to me, right?
I actually love that, and our neighbor came in and she said, one right beside us, so we know them the best, and she came in and made the joke of oh, look at all this food. Who made it? I mean, where'd you buy it? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear her say that. That's funny. And she knows us well.
Right. And she knows I'm not a big cook. And I said, hey, wait. Actually, Stu made this, and pointed to your cheesy bread thing. And she's like, ooh. And yeah, but I was like, okay, maybe I don't cook enough, because everything else was, I think, store-bought. But, it kind of is what it is.
It was a good time. It was good. So let's get to our Christmas conversation.
This is a Christmas tip from Stu and Lisa.
So my thought is men and women are different. We were just talking about that. So for Christmas, celebrating each other's different gifts. Lisa actually does most of the outside Christmas decorations at our house. Mm-hmm. And I celebrate that about her. She likes that much more than I do. But a lot of times, guys are the ones who do the Christmas lights outside. Women, a lot of time, decorate the house inside. And I think the Christmas tip is celebrating the gifts and talents that your spouse has during the Christmas season and not being offended or put off by them, but really celebrating what they like doing and just giving them free rein and enjoying the time together and, maybe learning something from them. In our marriage, we've gotten to a point where we just celebrate each other's gifts and the things each of us like to do.
Yeah, like we eat all your cheesy bread, which I think I ate almost the whole thing last night, honey. So thank you for being creative.
That was a Christmas tip from Stu and Lisa.
Okay, so let's talk traditions and family and in-laws and all things Christmas crazy.
Dun, dun, dun. I feel like it could be like a bad movie getting started here. When people think of in-laws, unfortunately, for some people, thankfully, a lot of people have great in-laws, but for some people, that's kind of a taboo,
It really is. When we used to travel for Christmas, it was a big event because my family lives in Arizona, we live in Tennessee, and my grandparents live in the middle of the country. And so we would meet in the middle in my grandparents' small home, and it was my parents, my sister, her family, and then it was us and our family. Then my cousin would come with his family, and then my aunt and uncle would show up, and then they also have kiddos, so another cousin, another two cousins and their families, and all in grandparents' little itty-bitty house. And so it would get to, when we were little, it was one thing because it was just grandparents, mom and dad, and then my sister and I, and then my other three cousins. And so it was totally doable. Now, as adults, we all have kids and families, and so trying to make that tradition work just doesn't work anymore. And the expectation was, let's keep this thing going because we felt so special about all of us getting together with grandma and grandpa in their house. But it just got busted. It just got crazy and overwhelming. And we enjoyed the thought of it. We enjoyed the reminiscent part of it going, oh man, this was so special and so great. And we do love spending time together and we do love Christmas. And it's so awesome to see each other. But what we were doing didn't work. And so as we were traveling, a lot of times we'd show up to the house and I'd flash back to son mode. And I wouldn't pay attention to you. I wouldn't pay attention to Dean. And I was just like a little kid. It's just like, well, I'm just going to sit on the couch. I'm not going to do anything. Not going to pay attention to you. Not going to pay attention to what's going on with my child. And, we had a real come to Lisa meeting a couple times.
Oh, this sounds so bad.
Well, but really, I needed the smack of, hey, you know what? You're actually a husband and a father first before you're a son anymore in this situation. And 99% of the time, that's how I was functioning. But when I jumped back into this tradition that we love, but everybody's on top of each other, I would just go back to that reminiscent, memory, being a child, blah, blah, blah. And that husband-father thing just kind of went out the window.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of people do that, especially early in their marriages, because they just don't know any difference. We didn't know any better. Like literally, it took us a couple years before we figured out what was happening when we would go on these trips. We would go on these trips with high hopes of it being wonderful and lovely, and we would leave exhausted and it was okay, but why were people arguing and why was grandpa upset and why did things happen? And it took us a little bit to go, hey, wait a minute. One, you were stepping into son mode. Two, we were trying to fit into a picture that really we didn't fit into. And I think a lot of families have this family picture. I know for us, we have our family traditions that we do every year now as the three of us. And anytime that something's come up where we're going to change one of those, it's hard. I'm the first one. I don't like change, so I'm the first one to go. But we always do it that way. And that's fine if everybody still agrees that way fits. And I think when your family starts to expand, your kiddos start to get married. And I need to listen to this in 10 years,
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
When your kids get married and they start having kids, I think every parent needs to step back and go, hey, these were great family traditions. You guys used to sleep on the floor in sleeping bags.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The first year we went, you and I slept on the floor in a sleeping bag. And I went, dude, I'm never doing this again. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, no. I did it one time and I was like, we're going to a hotel next year. Everybody was trying to fit into this picture that was no longer really where your family was. And it took several years for all of us to figure it out. And honestly, that year, I had to set boundaries. We did do it one year, and we went and we slept on the floor in this cold garage on a blow-up mattress, and we left, and it was horrible. You and I just had a really rough time together. I think that was one of the first times we started to realize that you were acting more like a son than a husband. And then the next year, we had Dean and he was an infant, and I had to set a boundary, and there was a lot of offense that happened when I set that boundary. But you stood beside me and you went, hey, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, we love you and we want to definitely see you as much as we can, but I'm going to stand with my wife and we're going to stay at a hotel, and we will be over in the morning when we get up, and we will leave before bedtime. That year was rough because everybody was mad at me.
Well, a couple things. The garage was actually finished into a room. We weren't in a garage. Well, it is a garage that they made into a room, so it was still very cold. But I was like, we didn't sleep in the garage.
Sorry.
That's what, it was just funny when you said it. I was like, oh my gosh, that is a garage, isn't it? That's really funny.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was funny in that was that year we did that, talking to my dad. And he's like, man, if I would have done that 30 years ago, I would have.
Oh, go to the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just funny the things you get into, and you pick your battles. Obviously, you choose the things that are important or not. And it's just what they had done forever. So I don't think Dad knew or wanted or desired to change it. But then when we were able to, he's like, oh, man, I wish I would have done that. You know what I mean? Like, hindsight's 20/20. So thinking about it, being intentional on the front end, I think is a good thing. One of those years that we went, you were actually pregnant. I think also caused crazy problems.
Which we didn't know.
Your hormones were like all over the place.
Right.
And so I was like walking on eggshells the whole time. But yeah, we didn't know until we got it.
Oh my goodness.
We didn't know until we got
Why are you taking the opportunity to like blame it all on me?
No. It's not that at all.
But yes, I was very hormonal. And I didn't know I was pregnant.
Right.
So I was just like,
exactly.
like high,
Yes,
low, high, low.
Yeah, we figured that out when we got home. We're like, oh, that explains so much.
Yes, it does.
Just funny.
So depending on what season you're in your marriage, if you're a newlywed couple or if you're an older couple and have kiddos that are just getting married, I just want to encourage you to really think about this. Like, does your family picture, the traditions that you've had for the past season, whatever that season might be, does it still fit? Does everybody still fit into that picture frame? And if not, then you need to step back and think about, what do we need to change? So if you're newlyweds, if you've just gotten married in the past couple of years, maybe it's a season that you need to not be at your parents' on Christmas morning. And there's nothing wrong with that if you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. But if there's anything in you that says, man, we would love to just have a husband and wife Christmas morning where we wake up together and it's just us celebrating, that's okay. Like, yes, you should honor your mom and dad, but you also have to leave and cleave to your wife or husband. So if you're newlyweds, just think about that. And then if you have kids who are just married, think about maybe it's time to change things up. Maybe instead of everybody coming to you, you go to them, or you all go to a destination location. Whatever it may be that your family together can really enjoy your time, because that's what the holidays should be about. It's not about the presents, and it's not about tradition in the sense that you don't enjoy it anymore. It's about just celebrating that you have each other and that Jesus came and that we all have him.
I think there are lots of things in there. I think it's holding traditions loosely and looking at them. And there are other times that you can celebrate. It doesn't necessarily have to be on Christmas Day. We figured out as family we could do that the weekend before or the weekend after. When can people get together? Not being so hard-nosed about the time, the day. And, we could do Christmas Eve or something like that. If Christmas morning you want to do as a family, which we've decided to do, well, then we do other Christmas celebrations at different times, which is totally great. But you've got to figure it out for yourself. And then you talked about Jesus, and it really is about him and celebrating his birth and remembering that in this time. And as we were talking about traditions and getting stuck in the past, the thing that kept going through my head is, man, church does that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Get stuck on what God did 20 years ago or what God did in the past season or past generation. And we talked about that at our church recently. Just where is God moving, and are we paying attention to what he's doing and where he's going? And are we letting the traditions in church hold him back from moving right now?
Absolutely. And I think you can do the same thing in your marriage.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of get kind of stuck with, oh, honey, this is what we've always done for our anniversary. This is the way we've always had sex. I mean, all of those things, every area of this is how we've always celebrated birthdays. I love that. Okay, so I'm the queen of liking it the way it always has been, right? Yeah. And not liking change, but at the same time, I don't ever want to get so stuck and focused that I miss something that could be even so much better than what I had planned and what we had done previously.
We hope our conversation about traditions and family and expectations during the Christmas season maybe has helped you out. We'd love to hear, your thoughts. Again, you can send us an email on air at stupendousmarriage.com.
Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Yeah.
Like the show? Like the show.
Yeehaw.
Share the podcast. Tell another couple.
Hold on. Hold up. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Stop.
This is why we should not record on Mondays.
Hey there, welcome to Stupendous Marriage Show. I'm Stu Gray.
Hey, I'm Lisa Gray.
And how are you? And
You gotta do it over again. You gotta say what the show is. Honey, do you need to go run around the building or something?
Hey there, welcome to...
And we had stuff,
It's
boxes.
It's like that one... Oh, sorry.
Your Christmas, the in-laws, and family traditions.
And try to just let them kind of...
Stop. Say it again. Okay, let's start over. Yeah.
Like the show? Like the show. Share the podcast. Tell your married friends.
Yeah.